So just to make sure we remember what we're building and we're on the same page, we basically explored the Geode part of it. That's basically the in-memory database that you can actually transact data into, read data, query data, take the events, and receive notifications. So that's all. We started here. We created the regions. We're analog to the tables, like as William said, the maps and steroids here. Now we're basically going to use the exact same VM, start Spring XD, create a bunch of pipelines, see how we can ingest data, get data in, out, and actually connect XD to Geode. Saying XD stream this data to Geode so we can see stuff getting there. So back to this box here. So back to your VM. Should be here. Really, the only thing you need to do is XD single node. How do I open a different console for that VM here? Where is this? Oh, this is the VM. OK, this is the VM. Common tip. Cool. So using Vagrant. OK. If you want to use open another terminal and SSH to the box to make sure you have both too. Because with the first one, we're going to do XD dash single node. Yep, let me clear the screen so it goes up to the top. So then do a Ctrl plus as well. XD dash single node. That's what we're going to do. Just take a few seconds to start. And we basically follow along the lab instructions. So if you are behind, you just look at those instructions that says exactly this. Let me minimize it so you can see it coming. So we'll start wait for the server to start. Takes a few seconds, 15, 20 seconds. If you see scheduling the deployment at the containers, blah, blah, it means it's up. So you can actually go to the other window, connect to the exact same VM, and start XD-shell. By default, it tries to contact localhost. As we are running it on the local host as well, we don't even need to configure that. If you're running on a different VM, there's a command, just admin config. You set what the host is, it connects. In this case, you're running everything in localhost. You just need to do XD shell. As it pops up, it says admin server target, localhost 9393. So it should be good to go. Everything at this point? Everybody agree here? Good? OK. So now, on the same way that we have JFish that you guys are using to interact with Geode, we have XD shell that also allows completion commands. So if you actually, from here, let me actually try to do something to improve our experience here. Oops. OK, here you go. So if you hit tab, you're going to see the possible things we can do. And I'm going to start really simple. I'm going to do a stream list. And you see we don't have any streams deployed. But then we're going to do the simplest thing we could. I'm going to do a stream create. If I hit tab, it's going to suggest me what I need to do. So mandatory option name. I'm going to give it a name. Let's say stream1. And then you hit tab again. It will ask you to do definition. And here's where we're going to configure what the stream source is, what the destination is, what we're going to process. So if you try to compare this with anything else you've done in terms of streaming, so for example, Spark streaming, etc., we're not doing any programming here. It's a declarative language. All we're going to do is declare what the source is, what destination is, what the transformation is, and it's going to deploy for us automatically. So it's far more productive. So stream create, name stream1, definition. I'm going to open quote here and say, let's say, time dash log. As simple as that. That means it's a pipe. That means I'm starting as a source is the time. Time is a special source that's basically almost for testing purposes, the simplest you can get. That basically at each second outputs what the time command basically. And I'm basically taking the output of that as the pipe and sending to the log. So it's going to actually show on the log of the other screen that we have. And we can either create this stream and then deploy it later, or I can actually create and deploy it right away. That's what I'm going to do now. Dash dash deploy. If I hit enter here, oops, could not find. Is it a time? Just a second. Model with. It's cutting the. Let me see. Definition. Give me 1 second. I think it has not deployed the time module for some reason. Stream create name.
Live
This one, huh?
Live demos.
Yep. Definition time log. What's the version of the Spring XD deployed here? 1.2.0. It was this time is basically a test thing, so we might have dropped it in this version. If worst case, we're going to get ATP right away, no problem. Just make sure we have it here.
The error I'm getting is could not find module with name log.
Log?
Yeah.
Oh, so it's log that it's not good. OK, cool. Just hold on a second. Here, I get it. That's weird. Let me do a suggestion here. It doesn't seem to have all the modules installed. You're missing some directories here? Well, the deployment I have, it's working great. I think something is screwed on this VM. Let me
check the modules with the installation.
Yep. Let me remove this here. At least I can read what the suggestion is.
So a question about what's username and password. You have a question about what's username and password.
For what? Yeah, just take a look. Time equals. Yep. So we're going to change. Let me do like this. Something is wrong with the deployment of XD, with the downloaded XD here. You only have 5 modules, which is really weird. It's missing some jar files. So let's start. At least we have Jamfar. That's actually what we need. So bear with me. Let me just get the installation here. And actually, if you can pay attention here, we're going to figure out and do it later on your VMs. Stream, destroy, stream, all destroy. Start from scratch here. Have XD started. Has log. Let me like this. And here. OK. What we were doing is I'm starting a stream time log. I'm basically going to do a deploy. When I hit enter, and by the way, I was actually getting 4 modules there when I was trying to complete. Here I have like 30-something. So definitely missing some jars there. You can take a look at what maybe you can just copy the new installer. Something, probably copied the wrong installer or something screwed when you copied that. So when you do a time log and I do deploy, it says deployed stream. If we go back there, it's basically outputting this. Really simple. It's going to keep doing that 1 per second. Yep.
So I tried to destroy and then have I don't have the log.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening here as well. It seems that it's missing the log module. I think it's something messed up on the installation they copied. It's probably got, when they copied, I think the jar files got corrupted that had the libraries. Because the way you install new modules is just like drop the jar file on the library, start the server. You don't need to register or anything. So it's probably not finding the jar files because of something got corrupted. So it's only deployed like 4 modules or like 30-something, which is really weird. But we'll figure it out, no problem. This is like the simplest thing we can do, as we mentioned. But you can actually try to do stuff fancier. So in this example that we had, we basically had an HTTP port opened. And the sensors are basically connecting to HTTP posting JSON payloads, which are then transforming and post to Geode. So instead of doing a time log, let's start doing an HTTP log. Then we get posts up there and see that it's being logged. Then we can start transforming and post to Geode. And again, if you guys could bear with me here while I figure out the installation that is done on the VM. It's basically unzipped, so it's probably downloading again. We can actually create another stream. I'm deploying 1.2, but 1.1 should be fine as well. 1.2, 1.1, 2.0. I'm actually 2.0. Any version that you can download there is going to be fine. It's really not many changes based on what we're trying to do. So we can actually do a new stream XD, or stream create. And I'm going to call this now, for example, HTTP test. And the definition, instead of being time log, can be, for example, HTTP. And I can use the standard port, 9000, or I can actually specify any port I wish. Port equals, for example, 1234. That's going to basically really start a web server here listening to this port that captures all the streams and does what you want to do with the pipe later. And then, for example, let's just test to make sure it works. So I'm actually going to get everything you paste to this port. I'm going to send straight to log. Then after that, we're going to process and send to XD. Let's start really simple. HTTP port 1234 log. I'm going to deploy. Seems to be deployed. Now we should have something listening on port 1234. If actually we look at the logs here, it's saying deploying those modules. And how are we going to test HTTP? Well, XD shell has actually HTTP clients to test as well. So it's pretty powerful. So you can actually do HTTP, post, and then I'm going to do for a target. My target is going to be HTTP localhost 1234. And let's send the data hello. As simple as that. $200, OK. So we should go to the log. Hello. So it's basically logging whatever it's getting. Simple enough. Let's do something more useful now. I'm going to just create a JSON payload and send that JSON payload so you can actually filter something. So very simple example. Name. And last name. Now we're going to do some filtering on that split. OK. Payload seems to be here. Now I'm going to do something more useful with this stream. Let's destroy it. What?
What file is the log?
What file what?
What file is the log?
Log? It's the server logs.
Server logs?
Yeah. So where you started, you have a server log as well, right? So before sending to the logs, now what I'm going to do is a filter. And this filter is going to say expression. So what we're going to do is, this is just an example, of course. I'm going to post a payload, and I'm going to filter part of it. So I'm only going to actually send the ones that comply to a specific pattern. So if we just look, for example, on how we are creating the streams here, and you guys can take a look what we had. Let's do more. We can actually use payload this. Contains oops. So I'm basically deploying a stream that takes from HTTP port 1234. Whatever comes here, I'm applying a filtering that I'm only letting go through the filter anything that on the JSON path of everything, I can actually select a specific property. We're going to do that later. Contains, it's cutting here, so contains my name. And if you post something that has my name, it's going to log it. Otherwise, it will not. Yep. In the documentation, you find them all. The one that I found most useful is actually the JSON path. So it's basically, if you have a JSON payload, it allows you to traverse to the properties of the JSON and say only if the name complies to this, or the address complies to that, or the password is this. And you can actually create composed expressions. For example, .name plus something plus something. So it allows you to do real-time transformations based on JSON payloads, which is really fun. And it's very useful in our example here, and this is the real stream we deployed for our example for the pies. We're basically, let's take a look at this together. Let me select it here so it makes easy for us to follow. So I was basically taking an HTTP port 9000. Whatever I got it here, if I had more than one payload, I was splitting it. Just split the entire thing, take care of the entire thing. It's all the JSON path. So all the JSON variables I'm taking as a splitter. And then from that, I'm applying a transformation based on a Groovy script. We're going to open that script really soon, take a look at that together. But what that basically is, it reads the strength of the signal and calculates the distance. It's a math formula. It's really simple. What gets out of it, it converts to JSON back, because this guy applies to objects. It converts back to JSON and posts to JFire, JSON Server. Send to localhost this port, that region, and uses the nano timestamp of the payload of the JSON as the key for that region. I'm going to be doing something very similar. So let's get back there. I'm going to do something much simpler now. Deploy it. Seems to be deployed. So let's see what it logs. I think it didn't like my JSON payload. Isn't it valid? It's, it didn't accept as a valid JSON payload. It's probably not. Is it colon, semicolon? Let me check something here to make sure we got it right. I'm missing something really obvious here. Do you have an example? Do you think so? Might not. Let me see. It's not. It's in. Let me do something here. That's going to make it much easier. Let's see actually what comes from the pie. Much easier, right? So let's create a stream. Stream. I'm going to call it stream create minus name. I'm going to call from pie. Definition HTTP port 9000. I'm going to log whatever comes from the pie. Oops. Log, close it, deploy. OK. Let's make the pie run to post the HTTP requests here. Where's the? Here. Let's wait a few seconds. It should actually post the strength of the signal plus the frequency plus the MAC address. Give it a few seconds. Those things are really, really slow. But it's starting. Just make sure the port is right. It was 9000, right? Yep, 9000. 9000 should be right. Starting. I think we got stuff. OK, I don't know what I was missing in terms of this, but this is what's coming. And we can actually start filtering that now. So device, signal, PI ID, frequency, and nano stamp. What I'm going to do now, I'm only going to output what comes from a specific device. Let's see this device here. Let's apply the filtering on top of this. Much smarter. So copy. Let me destroy the stream. The pie is going to start giving errors. Then you can redeploy it. Destroy from pie. Now the Pi should output errors. Yes, it's not connected. Now let's deploy it again. But instead of doing a log, let's do some filtering first. And I'm actually apply that filter that was doing the other. JSON payload dot device ID. Contains okay. Let's see if I haven't missed anything. I did. Okay, of course it's missing the filter. Just put JSON Path. Filter expression equals. Okay, I think we're good. Deployed. So let's restart the Pi here. So I should only get a field now only for that specific Mac. And then we're going to actually send that straight to Geode. So you can actually store some information on Geode just coming from that MAC address. And I hope the person that's holding that device doesn't leave it. So you're going to get this stuff. Come on, compiling, run. Okay, it's already running. It's not coming anything because probably didn't arrive from that device yet. Let's wait.
While it's going on, could you explain one more time kind of what's going on here?
Yep. No problem. So actually, turn my on as well. So what's going on here? You have a device. That device, it's basically capturing information on its Wi-Fi port, right? It's basically sending that information to port 9000, HTTP straight. I have something called Spring XD that created a stream, and the stream is listening on that port 9000. From that information coming on port 9000, it's applying a filtering that will only output stuff that comes from a device ID that has this information. From what comes out of that filter, it's login. And I think something came finally. Yeah, good. So we have actually some information. It's filtering everything. It's only outputting what's coming out of this device here. And minus 37, it's on the room. It's somebody here in the room. Minus 3.
Is anyone that missed the first part of the lab, like joined just after the break? Is that the case? Here?
Okay.
I guess maybe they're missing actually the use case.
Okay. I'm going to go through it again in 1 minute. No, it's fine. It's fine. It's totally fine. It's good to refresh everyone on that idea. So we're going to do it. So basically, only that information is coming from Pi for this device ID. We log in. And if we come back to what we're trying to accomplish here, we have devices that are streaming information. We're basically using Spring XD to ingest those devices. Instead of the transformation here that we're going to do it now, we're applying basically some filtering to just capture from the specific device name, numbers here. Then what we do is basically apply some transformation and send this data to Geode.
The devices are these Raspberry Pis. We have one here and 2 other there.
Yep. So it's basically capturing the strength of the signal or the Wi-Fi. If I show you what I have in terms of calculation of distance is really, really simple.
One other quick question.
Yep.
So the Gradle script is deploying the rule to the pi? Is it running on the pi?
Nope.
So stream.
Oh, yeah, the Gradle script. Yeah, the Gradle script. So the Pi basically has a Java client installed, just a JRE, and a source code that I'm just running it from the source.
So it's filtered at the device. Right? So the only thing knows is the basic.
Yeah, the only thing that is installed on the device is a Java client that captures the Wi-Fi stuff and sends over HTTP port on a JSON.
So pure Java, or is there a
Pure Java. Pure Java. There's nothing there.
Geode embedded?
No, it's because it's sending HTTP. So it doesn't have a Geode client or anything.
REST client.
It's a REST client. So it's a pure HTTP. You can actually do a Python instead of Java, would be fine as well. Let me
Yeah, it would work.
yeah, would work as well.
It would work as well.
What I'm doing, if you remember well, one of the next step of that Spring XD is applying a transformation using a script in Groovy. You can do whatever you want. You can apply JavaScript. You can actually do something with R, Spark, Python. In this case, to simplify it, I just did a dummy Groovy script. And what? Yeah.
So it's going to run, it's going to start a new process for each request.
No. There's no. What do you mean by process? It's a thread, of course. Every request has a thread assigned. That thread captures the request and processes that, of course.
Yeah, one thread per request.
It's always have you pull the threads. There's monitoring the HTTP port, like any web server, right?
Yeah.
So whatever it receives, the pool assigns a thread to take care of it. That thread takes care of it and is returned to the pool later. But you can take a look at the product architecture if you wish. It's just like any web server. It's not different than any web server does to receive the request. It's a web server listening to that port now, 1, 2, 3, 4. So what we're doing in that Groovy script is basically the same way you can do that at XD. I can get a payload, get the signal and the frequency, and there's a formula that I saw in a guy's PhD that calculates the distance based on the frequency and the level and the strength of the signal. So it actually calculates through that, and I put an additional field so I can I'm doing actually transformation here. I'm adding an extra field that is called distance. So if we do that in our example here, I'm going to destroy that stream. And after filtering, I'm going to add a new step that is going to actually apply the transformation and calculate the distance. So it can really close to what we're doing, and then we're going to put on Geode after instead of doing log. So we're going to get exactly what we're doing. So I can actually do a transform, really simple. Or it's actually scripts, or yeah, let's just copy it. It's wiser. Transform script. This guy over here. So we should actually see an additional field now called distance that calculates the distance in meters depending on the strength of the signal that we are seeing that in dBs. Create a new stream. Should be deployed here. Now let's restart the Pi. So it posts there. And let's hope we get data out of that device. Otherwise, I got to change the filtering. It took us a few seconds to get that last time. So with this, you guys can imagine what you can do with any kind of IoT scenario that you have devices streaming information. And you basically can have different types of info There are different pipelines, applying different sets of filtering, transformations, enrichments. You can actually, for example, call an R script that can actually do some, I don't know, feed a neural network or something, and the result you're going to put in a database. Yes, sir. Huh?
I know how to fix it. I did it. I copied, I went into the XD of the distribution.
Yeah.
Go to the XD, find the source, copy it to the custom modules directory, and I got all the sources.
So I'll tell you what happened. When you installed it,
Good.
it probably cut the libraries in the middle.
Okay.
So it's not in the models. You should have like 30 to 40 different libs on the models. If you don't have it, it's missing.
It's in custom then.
It's actually a little bit simpler way to fix it. There's an XD home environment variable.
Yeah.
And if you add XD to the end of whatever that's set to, that's usually working for me.
Great.
So it's set to like blah, 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 Spring XD release, but then within
Oh, it's not Mr. Spring XD slash
Under
XD.
XD.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So
Yeah,
it's-
we
oh,
can add that to the
Okay, so let's do it. Let's pay attention here. We're gonna do it there. We do it. Okay, I think we got an error here. Let's see what it is. Maybe because I'm filtering some stuff wrong. So I know DBM is wrong. Let me see what's this.
Would you repeat your author again? Yeah, I'm adding to the lab here.
So if you do like
Add to the lab.
type grab XD, you'll see there's
Choo, 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 choo,
XD
choo.
home environment variable. And then if you basically copy that.
Oh, I need to do a splitter, of course. I'm receiving multiple stuff. If I don't do a splitter, it's not going to work. So let's do a splitter first. Let's copy in here. Okay, again. Now we should see the distance being applied to that transformation. So, tá quase. Porque o tempo? Okay. So after we do this last step, we just send the data to Geode. So we get that data there. And then we're going to play with Spark.
Before that, we're going just to fix the Spring XD last part.
Yep, I'll let you fix it with them.
I'm writing to the instructions and then I'll update the git.
Is it clear the kind of things that XD does, Spring XD? Does it make sense? Yeah? Okay. Okay, it's capturing the output. It's already doing here. So you should get some data coming out of it really soon with the distance applied. Then we just send that to Geode. And we have the exact same information created in XD and stream it to Geode. If we had an application listening to Geode, it could just output that information, a map like we have.
So is the calculation basically assuming we're all on the same plane?
Yes.
So if it is coming from there, it could be like way off.
Yes. It's a two-dimensional calculation. There's a much complex formula for 3 dimensions. Actually, we're building a robot that actually has 3 dimensions.
You can still do it with 3 points.
You can still do it. No, it's you need at least 4 pies.
You need 4.
Yeah, you can't do it 3. 3 needs to be done. So I think we're getting stuff. Cool. And actually now we have distance here. And as I told you that the strength changed sometimes, we got some measures which are reading 0.55 meters. So somebody is really close here. And the other ones are getting 0.8, which come from the exact same device. So that's why it's not perfect, the location. It depends on how you're holding your device, if you hold it, if there's somebody between you and the point. Of course, there's all sorts of things when you're measuring radial signals. But at least we are applying that transformation. The calculation's working great. Now we can actually, just to finalize it, instead of sending to the logs, we can actually do a different sync that we can call it Gemfire. It's already JSON, so we can actually do a JSON server. or we can do an object. In this case, as we already had JSON payload, it makes sense. And then the default is localhost, but let's force it anyway. Use locator. The host is localhost. This is the locator port. Make sure it's up here. It's not. Pode ir. Já deu? And then we can basically say, send this to this region name that I'm calling it, I don't know, like test, for example. And while you use it as a key, I can actually say key expression, and I can take the JSON payload, for example, and use, I don't know, the device ID. We can just copy this expression here. We are kind of running out of time, so I'll let you guys fix lab with him. And just to fix the path of XD that was wrong, you guys not able to run it. And we have the complete instructions for any of the lab. I can do that as well, Markito. You got it?
Oh, yeah. We just need to change the environment variable for the Spring XD. So if you guys start
XD home, right?
Yeah.
XD home needs to point to XD/XD. That's it. It's inside the VM. Yeah, the VM was generated with the wrong environment variable. Sorry.
Okay, there you go. So here, if you're following from the GitHub, right? We did all that with the Geode. So for Spring XD, before starting, if you have already started, just kill the process. You guys have to know how to stop the process, single node process. Okay, let's do this. Who has started the Spring XD when Fred asked to do that? Mostly everybody. Okay, so let's kill that. I'll show you guys how to do it.
Control C.
You can multiplex.
Simple as that.
You can use XD to
So I don't have it running here.
You just hit Control C on where it started. It's gonna kill it.
Oh yeah, you are running on foreground, right? Yeah. So
Just
yeah,
hit
stop
Control
it.
C.
So great, because I didn't want it that way. So do this export first. Fix it with like this, and then actually starts the single node. If you want to do with two terminals, fine. I start on the background.
Just to explain, as we had the wrong directory exposed at that, it was not finding the modules.
Yeah.
So it registers the modules on the fly. You can actually be running copy. Yeah.
Can you go back? Sure.
So should we be doing the create stream or just do the setup streams?
So we're actually going to run the setup stream, which is just create the streams we need for the lab. Fred already covered the XD shell, I think, quite a while. So
We got it.
don't extend on that, because then we still need to do like a couple more steps.
I would go to the Spark if you can, because that's really cool. And I'd like people to see it, Spark SQL with Zeppelin.
So have you guys started the XD single node now?
There we got a bunch of errors.
Yeah, I think,
Bunch of errors?
Let me see.
Server.